Welcome back to Tea Time. I hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving. Today we're paying a special tribute to Quatrano. She's a chef here in the Atlanta area, and I actually got this book signed by her. So what we're going to do her famous cran apple dressing. For this recipe today, we're going to be using sourdough bread, cranberries, sage, an onion, a gala apple, butter, bouillon cube, and of course some celery. Before we get started, I did want to let you know that the recipe actually calls for 2 pounds of the sourdough bread, but we're going to do half of the recipe, so we're using 1 pound. So everything is actually cut in half. The first thing you're going to do is get your sourdough bread, and like I said, I'm using half of the recipe, what the recipe calls for, so I'm using 1 pound instead of 2 pounds. So it's about 6 slices. Make sure you go ahead and preheat your oven to 350 degrees. And the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and slice up our bread so we can make cubes, and then we'll toast this. And I just like to slice it down and just slice it across to make cubes. Now that you have your bread cut up into cubes, and again, this is sourdough bread, we're going to lay it out here in this pan. Of course, I used foil today, and we're going to put it in the oven, a 350 degree oven, for 15 minutes and let it toast. While we're waiting on our bread to toast, I'm going to go ahead and start cutting up some of the vegetables. I'm going to start with the celery. Most of the time when you're doing like a dressing or stuffing, you cut your vegetables pretty thin, and that's what I'm going to do here today. Make sure they're pretty thin. Now that we have the celery cut up, I'm going to go ahead and start on the onion, and it's actually a whole sweet onion. And I got these sweet onions from Kroger, and guys, it actually just said sweet, so the bread is out of the oven. It toasted for 15 minutes. And again, this is sourdough bread. So this bread, we're going to let it sit to the side, and we're going to go ahead and work with our vegetables. Now we're going to cut into our apple, and again, it's a gala apple. And we're just going to take and cut the apple in cubes as well. And let's see if we can sit it over here to the side with this. Since we're still working with our apple, I wanted to go ahead and get my vegetables on. So my onion and celery, you're going to need 2 sticks of butter. So I have my pan on, and I'm going to go ahead and put my 2 sticks of butter in. So that's 2 sticks of butter. I know 2 sticks may seem like a lot, but when my husband actually visited the restaurant, she told him make sure that I use enough butter. Now that we have our butter in the pan, and it's almost melted, but we can go ahead and add our vegetables. So I'm going to add the celery and the onions, and you'll let this saute for 5 minutes until soft. When you cut your apples, make sure you remember to peel them. Now that I have my apples sliced, peeled, and diced, we're going to go ahead and add them in the butter with the onion and the celery. And we'll let this saute for 5 additional minutes. The recipe also asked for fresh sage, 5 leaves to be exact. So what we're going to do is I'm going to cut the stem off, then we're going to thinly slice these. Okay, and again we're going to go through and thinly slice our sage. And this is 5 leaves, guys. I just kind of stacked them all on top of each other. I better go check on these apples. Now that our apples have been simmering for about 5 minutes, we're going to go ahead and add our sage and get that stirred in. And once we add the sage, we're going to also add some kosher salt. You just kind of want to do that to taste, and some pepper as well. I have all my seasonings stirred in. Now we're going to add 1 cup of chicken stock. Now we're going to let this all simmer, and it's going to simmer for 10 minutes. While we're waiting on that to simmer, we're going to go ahead and add our breadcrumbs to our bowl so we can get ready to toss these and get it all mixed in together in the oven. Now that everything's been simmering, the next thing it's time to add is our cranberries. And again, these are dried cranberries. And I'm using 1/3 cup. And you go ahead and stir those in. Guys, it actually smells wonderful in here. Guess it's the fresh sage, but it all smells delicious. Time to mix everything together. Go ahead and pour your vegetables over your breadcrumbs. Once you have everything mixed in, you want to go ahead and stir everything around to make sure your bread is fully coated. Guys, it smells really good. Add our mixture, our dressing, into our pan. Now that we have everything added in the pan, we're going to bake this at 350 degrees for 30 minutes uncovered. In it goes. Time to pull the dressing out of the oven. It smells delicious. Guys, I'm going to tell you, I've actually tasted this because I couldn't wait. It is awesome. I'm not sure if it's the sourdough bread or the fresh sage. This is definitely going on my Christmas menu. I'd like to thank you for joining me today, and I hope you can find room on your table for this dressing. Remember, it's canned apple dressing. So good. As always, thanks for stopping by. It's been real. Bye now.